Hi viewers, welcome to yet another episode on Simply Sashi channel. In the last episode, we saw and spoke to Mr. Karthik Palniyappan, who's a budding entrepreneur from Erode, Tamil Nadu. And I'm sure most of us have taken a lot of inspiration and learned many things out of that. Today, in our episode, we are going to meet yet another corporate employee turned entrepreneur, Mr. Dharnesh from Bangalore. Mr. Dharnesh is founder of Recibo Technologies, which is India's first omni-channel sales and distribution solution in Indian vernacular languages. Why Dharnesh? Dharnesh is young. Dharnesh is just about 40 years, who has seen highs and lows in his life and had a great journey from his childhood. Dharnesh has worked with best brands in the country, and even as an entrepreneur, he's still chasing best brands. Let's learn from Dharnesh more about his journey and how his quest for excellence is going to leave all of us inspired. Hi Dharnesh, very good morning. Nice to have you on the show.
Very good morning, Sashi. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
So Dharnesh, this series is all about past, present, and tomorrow. We call it PPT series with Simply Sashi. So welcome on the show once again. And here we are going to talk about past, present, and tomorrow. So that's the concept of this series.
Well, I really appreciate your initiative. This is a great initiative, and I feel this connects all the people who are eyeing big on career, whether it is in corporate life or starting something. Yes, this is, I feel, a great initiative. You should, keep continuing and connecting people with this.
Oh, sure. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes. More than introduction, I would say I want to kind of share my journey in this platform. Well, I would say a journey of how passion and purpose can make you to achieve dreams. A journey which made me to kind of, work with multiple multinational companies. Also, bootstrapping myself in starting up. To start with my background as such, I am born in a very small town called Somapet, which is in Coorg.
Okay.
It is almost 30 kilometers around 30 kilometers from Madikeri, which is a well-known town.
Yes.
So born there, and from there it started, and this is where I am right now. So my father is an ex-serviceman. In fact, he worked in Indian Air Force.
Okay.
So he served for Indian Air Force for almost 20 years, and my entire education was more towards studying in multiple cities and finally settling down in Mysore. So in this entire journey, I could study in places like Delhi. I was there in Delhi for 3 years, Bangalore for a couple of years,
Okay.
and then Hassan. Then finally, I completed my graduation in Mysore. Okay. So, in this entire, the initial education, what happened, it is not just about what you learn in school, but life has taught me a lot.
Okay.
And my father has been a direct influence in all this. So, being son of a, ex-serviceman or defense person, it imbibes a lot of, habits, or the way you kind of brought up matters a lot on where you kind of head towards.
Okay.
So if you want to kind of know more about my childhood days, I had a very strict upbringing. So very disciplined upbringing, which is quite obvious.
Yeah.
Again, in this entire process, I really enjoyed my initial childhood days.
Okay.
So it used to be like, my father used to get transferred. We used to stay in service quarters and all of it. Those train journeys during vacations, 2.5 hours from Bangalore to Delhi. This is something which is very nostalgic and you can't forget in your entire life. My mother was the first person who helped me to learn selling. In fact, this was during my ninth standard and 10th standard, wherein since we are from the coffee kind of land, wherein we grow coffee, we had this inclination towards coffee and selling coffee and all of it. So we used to bring coffee seeds from Coorg, and we used to powder it. My mother is to, in fact, kind of operate on the powdering or packaging and all of it. And I used to go and sell it independently to each and every house. So this was my first experience in entrepreneurship, I would say.
And also a sales stint in one way.
Yeah, also a sales team. So even though, those days it was more towards, I used to get some pocket money and all of it that used to kind of motivate me to go and sell. At the same time, financially also, at that particular time, my father had taken a voluntary retirement from defense after serving for 20 years. And we were really looking at making the ends meet. And, this was also, I would say, supporting the family. My mother was, in fact, supporting the family, and I was just helping my mother in going and selling this coffee powder to each and every house. We used to work on a subscription model those days. We just subscribe for coffee powders from these households. There were small, neighbors who used to kind of subscribe for it, and I used to go and supply it. So this is my initial schooling days, and I would say it has been a great learning to me.
Now that you've told your father as an ex-serviceman, how tough it was to grow up in a family where dad is from armed forces. I'm sure you just shared that you had a lot of memories from the past. Do we need to call it as tough?
Well, I would not say tough, but any defense personnel, works on certain principles, certain discipline. In fact, those discipline and principles in life has actually, as I was mentioning, has taken me to a stage wherein currently I'm driving my own business and the entire corporate life and all of it.
Correct.
So yes, initially it was kind of tough, but I have for me it is like the way of life, I would say. So I used to get up 5 o'clock in the morning, start start with my studies, or there is certain time I have to come home before 7. I can't kind of roam around till 8, 9 and all of it. Yes, all this is there. So being son of an ex-serviceman or defense personnel, it is always that you also inculcate certain behaviors. So I did my NCC A certificate. So I was part of NCC.
Wonderful.
Also, I had a lot of dreams and ambitions to join armed forces. But then I tried also, in fact, but then I failed. So I gave a couple of exams for Indian Air Force and Army, but then I failed. So, but then, yes, I would say that was a kind of heartbreak for me during those days. I'm talking about PUC, right? After your +2. So I did kind of, attend certain exams and all of it. So yes, it was a great journey. I learned a lot from my father. It was a tough journey, but this is really required, I would say.
Okay. Was it your dream, or was there any pressure from the family for you to join the armed forces?
Well, I would not say it's pressure. But then what happens is when you kind of see your father wearing Air Force uniform, you feel that sense of pride, that someday I want to kind of wear this uniform. So it was always there in me. I always wanted to kind of, my father always used to tell me, Daddy, you do anything in life, but create a history. I have created history by joining armed forces.
Okay.
So you should do whatever you choose. You choose anything, but create a history in life. So that actually, struck me so hard and well that, yes, I tried, but then after certain times it happens that the life will kind of keep changing it. You can't keep stuck to the same thing, right? So, but yes, as I was telling you, it was my ambition, my goal, or I would say more than goal, my interest to kind of join armed forces, but then, it didn't work out.
Okay. Good. So you have been to many cities in your childhood, right? Do you have any favorite city among them?
See, more than kind of putting it across this way, see, in my entire education, it had been that even though I was born and brought up in multiple cities, this has helped me in my entire corporate career. So it happened that, I'm so mobile, so I can go to any town. So I worked in Chennai, I worked in Kerala, I was in Delhi for some time, Mumbai. So in my entire career, it has helped me to kind of mingle with different people, and so I would not say any particular city, but then yes, in India you should be mobile, and I love traveling and all of it. Yeah.
Okay. So having been to multi-city during your education and all, and you already said that you tried to join armed forces and you had a heartbreak during that period. How did MNCs happen in your life?
Well, this is a long story.
Okay.
So after my pre-university, that was the time +2s, wherein I tried for armed forces. I gave interviews in army as well as air force, and it didn't happen. So I was left with an option to join, a graduation. Okay. During that particular time, even though I was also interested in joining an engineering course, but all this confusion didn't allow me to go and counsel for certain engineering colleges and all of it. So I got myself enrolled in University of Mysore in physics, chemistry, maths.
Okay.
But then initial few years was very demotivating. I was not focusing on my studies and all of it. As an individual, I am very average in studies. I would not say I was great, but yes, I did pass out with first class in physics, chemistry, maths. Yeah. But having said that, initial couple of years, yes, since it was a heartbreak for me, it was very demotivating because I was also trying in those days, to kind of take further exams and all of it. Then something happened in my life and in the family. My father saw me kind of very negligent, demotivated and all of it, and he wanted me to learn a lesson on how to survive, or I would say the survival skills, which is very, very important to kind of survive in any situation. So he asked me to kind of move out of house. So this was during second year of my graduation. So in the same town, those days we were in Mysore. My father had taken a voluntary retirement, and we had settled down in Mysore. And it happened that, he asked me to kind of move out of house, and he said, I'll give you 1,000 rupees every month. You have to just kind of, lead your life your way. I don't know what you're going to do. You manage with this 1,000 rupees. Okay, now I have to obey to my strict father. I can't say, no, I am, you have to give me 10,000 rupees, 5,000. And I'm talking about, this is way back in 1999, in fact. And 1,000 rupees is not a big money even that particular time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for a month, that too. If I have to manage 1,000 rupees in a month, it's a big thing actually. Yeah. So what I did is finally, yes, I obeyed. I, in fact, rented a room. I would say it was more of a dormitory, wherein I used to pay 250 rupees for rentals. It was just a plywood partition. It is still there in Mysore. It is just around 10 kilometers from my house. Okay. So I was staying there. Just imagine staying in a same town where parents is 10 kilometers away, and I'm just leading my life. So I had to live my life this way for almost till I completed my graduation and got my job. Okay. So 1.5 years of staying away from parents, and this journey really kind of helped me understand a lot, learn a lot in life, what it takes, what is the value of money, what is certain kind of pain points in doing certain things. There's a quote which says, only when you carry your own water, you will really kind of value each and every drop. So I understood the value of money at that particular time.
Okay.
So it happened that I completed my graduation. Then I said, I call him Papa, my father. Papa, I completed my graduation and I passed with first class, and now I'm trying for a job. And he said, "Good, you do whatever you want to, but make sure that you are living your own life." So, an individual who has just a physics, chemistry, maths pass out, and we were not financially strong also, so that I can go and demand my father, please help me to further study, or help me to further get into a master degree and all of it. I had to just agree to what the current situation is at that particular time, and further look out for a job. And the best job you can get at that particular time, and I being a very ambitious and passionate individual who would not settle for anything less in life, to be, in fact, I, whatever I have, I always feel about dreaming big, making it big. So medical representative was something which was easily available with my communication skills or my kind of approach towards life and all of it. So I joined GlaxoSmithKline as a medical representative.
Okay.
So, well, this was again a great learning in life, wherein I got into a sales kind of job, wherein I used to meet doctors, help them to kind of, prescribe certain products to the patient and all of it. So it was, other way, if you have to look at it, it is more of a social connecting with the doctors and the patients and all of it. Yes, to be frank, that was not something I wanted to kind of achieve in my life. But since this was my first job or career, I would say, as a medical representative, I made sure that I will not quit this unless I achieve something great in this. So I spent almost 2.5 years in that career, in that entire stint of medical representative. So in the very first year, I was a superstar representative, which was awarded in Bangkok. I was exceeding all sales parameters and all of it. But then the time came that, no, this is not the thing I want to continue further.
Okay.
So for any passionate person, see, education should not stop you to further learn and grow. I always used to get attracted to Unilever. Every time I used to see this, ads of Unilever, watch TV, this Dow or Axe or Surf and all of it. So it made me to kind of attend interviews of Hindustan Unilever. So before attending, also there's a long journey which I had to take. Since I am very ambitious and I wanted to work in a FMCG company, and I had zeroed in the company also, which is Hindustan Unilever. But then I'm from a different kind of industry altogether, which is, even though GlaxoSmithKline was also in the currently, even now it is also in consumer also. But then I had to learn how this FMCG distribution works, how exactly the sales and distribution works. So I had to work with some distributors, understand how sales works in distribution. And, it happened that I gave an interview to Hindustan Unilever, HRT.
Okay.
I still remember that particular day when I walked into Santham branch in Chennai of Hindustan Unilever. Yeah. And there were around 16, 17, around 15, I would say, contestants, for that particular role.
Okay.
The role was for a territory sales officer, in fact. And, most of them had come with a, relevant experience, number one, or a MBA. I was the only person who was not from the relevant, industry. But then, yes, I had that particular rigor and the knowledge which I had acquired during my entire, experience. So I'm very fortunate on that particular interview session. I got selected as a territory sales officer. So I was so happy that day that, yes, all this, gives you more confidence to kind of run, achieve more in life. Yeah, so this is how it happens, my movement from GlaxoSmithKline to Hindustan Unilever. And yes, so I spent some time in this Hindustan Unilever. I worked in multiple cities. I was based out of Belgaum. I used to sell products like Dove, Axe deodorant, and all of it in Belgaum, Gulbarga, Yadgir. It's a large geography in North Karnataka. Yeah. So yes, so I was part of U2 division, and I'm very fortunate to having worked with Nandita Sinha, who is currently a director in Flipkart. Sudesh Padmanabha, those were my mentors during my entire stint with Hindustan Lever, and I learned a lot in FMCG distribution those days. Yes.
So, what did you learn from Nandita during that tenure, and the other person that you mentioned?
Sudesh Padmanabha. Yes. So since it was my initial kind of, I would say, experience in FMCG distribution, I had to learn how a distribution is handled. Even though I knew this in pharma, but only to a certain extent. FMCG distribution works in an altogether different way. So it was, in Hindustan Lever, it is more about how you drive. There are three parameters. I still remember those parameters which we used to kind of try. One is width of distribution, AVI, availability visibility index, and also depth of distribution, right? So we used to just drive, this for each and every product, each and every outlet. So we used to make sure, even though Hindustan Unilever had so much of respect, if any sales officer goes to a market, it is like, they used to pull a chair and, make us to sit and, start treating with so many things. I used to make sure that I used to go to each and every outlet, understand the pulse of the market, help even the retailers on getting them the best schemes and make them sell further and all of it. So that was a great journey. In fact, it was a great learning experience. And I would say it was one of my turning points in my career, which made me to get into Hindustan Lever.
Into Philips. So from a GSK to HUL, and when you joined PepsiCo, I'm sure you would have handled the van sales and all, right?
Yeah.
So did you ever have those experience of going along with the van and doing those sales, or no? Or it was a very different experience there? How was that?
Yes. So I would say, whether it is direct sales or van sales, it has been even in Hindustan Lever as well as PepsiCo. More in PepsiCo, in which during which I used to go along with the van, go and sell. It was the race between two brands, Coke and PepsiCo, and who first gets the crate will get the business. As simple as this. So it was a great learning experience. All this, helped me to learn how a FMCG sales can be done, whether it is in beverages or other FMCG products. So it also helped me to learn aggression in way how distribution can be driven, what is required for you to reach out to the market, reaching out to the universe of outlets, expanding the outlets, driving in, visibility, especially the visibility parameters, which, those days, we used to carry a piece of cloth and kind of, dust wherever you feel that, things are not. We used to kind of show this, lead by example to our DSOs. We used to, make them also kind of do it. Same in Hindustan Unilever as well as in PepsiCo also. We used to kind of open that cooler, arrange all the product neatly as per the planogram. Always ask the retailer not to keep milk and other stuff in the cooler and just maintain it for PepsiCo, which hardly used to happen. In fact, even after multiple requests,
it's tough to maintain that way. I'm sure.
Yeah. So, but then this is a great experience wherein you actually work towards making that brand visibility, or I would say winning in each and every store, which matters a lot. This is the right way of putting it. So we used to kind of look at how I can win in this particular store, whether it is in availability or visibility, or in other terms, how I can drive certain niche brands in this particular store. It is about winning each and every store.
So Dharnesh, so this availability, visibility, distribution, all this, and aggression we were talking about some time back. Was it your own learning, or did you have any role models in these three organizations from whom you have learned these?
Yes. Okay. I was talking to you about Philips, my career in Philips, wherein I joined in Philips in the same sales and distribution as an assistant manager, and I was based out of Mysore. So again, in my stint in Philips, I started again with sales and I moved to trade marketing. And this entire migration, it happened that got an opportunity to work with Mr. Kartik Murthy, who identified certain skills, certain creativity in me, and helped me move to the trade marketing role. In my initial sales career, it was always with me that whichever role I take it, I have to come out in flying colors. So my first year in sales with Philips, also I won a lot of awards. In fact, I was the only one in the consumer durable industry to win a superstar award. In fact, it was called as Performance Plus Award, and I was one of them to kind of earn it. So, and then I know it happened that Mr. Kartik Murthy, who had been my mentor even now, saw those creativity in terms of how I'm getting into certain marketing related. Even though I was in sales, I was showing certain skills in marketing, and I openly kind of asked him, see, there is a vacancy in trade marketing, and you should consider me. He was just wondering, why should I consider a salesperson who doesn't have any marketing experience? But then I made sure that I show him all the skills and all of it. And yes, he believed in me and gave me an opportunity to get into trade marketing.
How did you get the idea of getting into a trade marketing from a traditional sales experience that you already had?
Well, see, trade marketing and sales goes hand in hand. It is all about driving sellouts, driving visibilities. In my previous I was mentioning about how I was driving visibility in terms of cooler visibility or AVIs and all of it. So this was part of it, even though I was not doing any demand generation activities. But in my entire stint, I had seen what is required for driving sellout in each and every outlet, and trade marketing is all about it. So it happened that I did certain activities in my stint in sales itself in Mysore, which Kartik Murthy very well identified and saw certain creativity in the way I have done this. So at that particular time, I was one individual who used to take initiatives in doing certain activities, and which made him to kind of identify and give me an opportunity in getting into trade marketing. But I would say trade marketing is, or in other words, the shopper marketing is something which is very, very important for driving sellouts, sales, treasuries, and all of it. And any sales role should be strongly driven with these, parameters. So that is very important. I would say most of my career, a number of years I spent in my corporate life has gone in Philips and Samsung. So it was almost 9.5 years. In these two companies, I've spent or I worked in multiple roles, starting from trade marketing to sales, visual merchandising, and all of it. So very particular in Samsung. So I joined in retail enhancement, reporting to Mr. Kartik Murthy again. I got this opportunity to work under him. And yes, during my stint in retail enhancement or my GT regional marketing or my modern retail marketing stint really helped me to further deep dive into the sellout generation kind of stint. In fact, I was driving again visibility part, demand generation activities, and all of it. There were a couple of activities which was highlighted nationally as well. So yes, it was a great stint, I would say. And that is see, I as an individual, if I don't keep learning in each and every activity I do, or if I feel that my learning has stopped somewhere, I start getting kind of distracted, or I would say that after some time, there's no learning, and I have to look out for further learning experience. And this is what happened in my last few months with Samsung. Okay. So So after spending almost 4.5 years, I used to kind of again sit and think, what next? Should you go and join a new company?
Mm.
Again, start with something you have learned till now and start working on the same, or you want to do something else. So, so during my last few months in Samsung, I used to kind of sit and think, my learning is not going any further, not because of anything, but then just that I want to kind of keep reinventing myself. That gives me a kick. So I thought, let's plunge into entrepreneurship. And this is something which I knew very well that I'm going to take a very big risk in life.
So that was the
Being a
moment. So this was the moment you decided that you will do something on your own, right?
Yes, exactly. So, but then see, when you decide to kind of start on your own, and also at the same time, you have certain kind of inhibitions in terms of, from the family side. Are you sure what you're going to do? Especially from my parents' side and all of it, they got scared when I said, no, I want to get into something of my own. Especially my brother had been a great, support to me. In fact, initially he was also kind of scared, but then he supported me.
Okay.
So, and again, my wife and kids, I will talk about more about my family. But then when I decided that, yes, I need to start something of my own, I wanted to start with what I have learned over this 14 years of my corporate life. So,
Dharnesh, did you discuss this career shift with anyone during that time, apart from family?
uh, so this career shift happened with multiple people. Yes, with my wife, my brother, and also I was discussing with my few ex-colleagues as well, okay, who got into entrepreneurship and were doing well, but then still there was a question mark, how to kind of move forward on this.
Okay.
But then all the discussion were positive, but yes, I was completely kind of sure about what I'm going to do. So obviously for anyone, an individual who is from the employee class, obviously will not quit with a pile of cash to go and start something.
Correct.
Always we will have, as a middle class family, I just had certain EMIs to run, plus seeing a single bread earner, I had a few commitments which has to do. But again, it's all about how you want to kind of get into certain things. So I decided, yes, now this is what I want to do. And I was networking.
Okay.
So I partnered with Chandan Ravi Shankar, who also shared the same passion in the sales, distributions, and all of it. And there was no looking back from there.
Good.
So,
how did you prepare your family for the loss of steady income that you were having for all these years?
I had, discussed with my wife that this is what we may have to kind of stick to, and we might have to cut down on certain things. This can be on certain spends towards which was earlier was a luxury and we can't afford. So in my entire initial stint of bootstrapping Recibo Technologies, I had to cut down a lot of things. But then these things you're doing with a certain satisfaction, what you are looking at on a long term. So she was always supportive. I have two kids, a son and daughter. So even they understood that I'm, Appa is kind of, transforming in his career, and they were also not so demanding that they want this. My entire family was very supportive, and same time my brother also helped me a lot in terms of some extent financially also. When you don't have income and you have to kind of sustain for almost an year, it takes a lot. So Recibo Technology is even now is bootstrapped SaaS business, software as a service business, wherein currently we are profitable. But then bootstrapping a startup is all about conquering your mind first. You can always kind of approach VCs, try to showcase something and try to get some business, but we were very clear that we will kind of bootstrap to an extent that this is self-sustained organization. And we are very proud to say Recibo Technologies is a profitable bootstrap company right now. We are working with some of the large FMCG companies, FMCD companies, companies in pharma industry like Reynolds, Ferrero, Casio, and all of it. Yeah.
What's the concept of Recibo?
So Recibo is a Spanish term which means receipts or bills, and we are into digitizing sales and distribution.
Okay.
So we have built India's first omni-channel sales and distribution platform, which is powered by AI. In technical terms, this is a unified Salesforce automation, distribution management, and B2B e-commerce on one single platform. So what it does is it gives the power to a distribution business to end-to-end automate and get results. So we show close to 3x results before automation and after automation. So in fact, when we started, it was more of a revenue generating model where we used to kind of start with some small kind of applications which will help in payment collections, delivery, and all of it. But then now we have a full-fledged platform which is helping even enterprise companies to kind of automate.
So why did you get this idea of a tech-based startup?
Yes, this is a great question. So my entire journey of 14 years, after my graduation, I worked in pharma, FMCG, FMCD, which is Philips, and mobiles, telecom. And I have learned and acquired certain skills during this entire journey, whether in sales or trade marketing. So I wanted to put all this experience in a platform which helps transforms business. Now, why this? During my entire stint, I have seen that there are some problem areas which has not been addressed at all. It can be for the company, it can be for the distributors. Now, I'll just give you a small example. Even now, in some cases, especially in rural distribution, you will see a lot of cash rotation happening. So this is what we in fact initially started. It is a major problem. So we provide real-time solution to collect cash and give the visibility to the distributor. This is just one of the problem for the distributors. Similarly, the delivery part. Now, if you look at large companies getting the visibility on orders, from where I'm getting the order, what time I got the order, when it has been supplied by the distributor, and whether it has been supplied with full or not. All this information we provide on real-time basis. To precisely answer your question, this entire journey of mine in sales and distribution helped me to understand certain problem areas, and currently I am dedicated in solving these problems.
So whatever learnings you had in your corporate life, you use those learnings and thought of getting into a startup which gives a solution to all those
Exactly.
problems that you have been seeing all these years.
Exactly.
Good. So what is the difference between the Tally or a Bowtree and Recibo?
See, Tally is a financial, ERP solution, which is more towards ERP, enterprise resource planning. Bowtree, you can kind of differentiate between Tally and Bowtree, and we fall in Bowtree side, in fact. So again, Bowtree is almost a decade-old solution provider who are working with very large companies. In fact, they were the trendsetters in this industry.
Correct.
Now we also fall in the same kind of segment.
Okay.
But we have certain value adds, which is related towards artificial intelligence, certain flexibility in the way we kind of provide our solutions. Just to kind of give a couple of examples. See, our solution is available in Indian vernacular languages. It has been built with all this FMCG experience, and to make it a very simple solution for even a 10th class pass salesperson to use this very effectively.
Okay.
Our app is available in Hindi, Tamil, Telugu,
That sounds
Malayalam.
interesting. Yeah, I think that you don't
Yeah,
get
so
in many of the softwares that
yes.
exist today. Hmm.
So our app is available in Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Bengali. Uh, Also in, we are also kind of working. We have clients in Bangladesh, Indonesia, Malaysia. We onboarded a client in Qatar just recently. We are just, working towards closing a client in Kenya. So we are also looking at providing vernacular languages in those countries. We just started with Bangladesh with Bengali.
Okay.
Right. So similarly, in other countries also, we are planning to kind of provide this. So why this vernacular language? It is not for the company's direct employees. It is for those small distributors, distributor employees,
Yes.
distributor delivery people. They can easily understand with their local, flavor or language, and try to kind of do it effectively. So it's about automation with a purpose. You kind of personally connect with those people, motivate them. So now this is not just an app, but this application motivates the salesperson to what his target is. He has to just do so much more targets to achieve his month's target. So there are constant AI based kind of notification which happens and motivates the salesperson. This is how we connect.
That's very good. So what's your product name? So Recibo is your organization. So is there any product name like a Botry or a Tally?
Okay, so Recibo is a brand itself.
Yes.
So we strategize to build Recibo as a brand. We are a product-based company. We don't work for projects, in fact. And you search for Recibo now, you will only find Recibo Technologies or our solution. As I was mentioning, Recibo is a very strong word in Spanish, which is receipt. And it's about, we are strategized towards, or our vision and mission is to digitizing sales and distribution. And we are looking at further building this product to an extent it 100% automates in multiple ways. So this is our future plan.
Good. And how is the switch over from an employee to an entrepreneur?
So yes, so in fact, my ex-colleagues, my peers always tell me, how do you do this? You just, hat changing, I would say. Now you're wearing a corporate hat and you're a, corporate
because
employee, and now you just place this hat, but then, yeah.
Exactly, because I understand an organization to an organization, a product to a product is still easier because there's a monthly thing that comes that's fixed. Okay, you are very sure, you're secured, and also it becomes easier for you also to adjust in that environment. Employee to entrepreneurship is a different journey. I want to hear from you on that.
Well, I would say, see, everything revolves on two things. This is what I very strongly believe. It is the passion and purpose. You can be passionate on many things, but also the purpose defines what you are passionate towards and what you want to achieve with this. So, see, it was not an easy journey. In fact, only entrepreneurs, understand this difficulty. And I would say, myself and my partner, Chandan Ravishankar understood this. Otherwise, we are very lonely people. You can't go and share your problems with other, entrepreneurs or, outside world. But then to be, having said that, see, currently Recibo is a profitable company. We are working in 6 countries. We are working with some of the large brands, as I was mentioning, like Ferrero, Casio, Reynolds. We are working with 75 plus brands right now, and over 2,300 wholesale distributors are using a solution indirectly to automate themselves. Now, getting here, there was a lot of transformation. We failed multiple times initially. We launched certain products which didn't work out. There were a lot of hardships, but it looks, kind of, when we are sharing things, it's an easy journey, but it takes a lot. It takes a lot of commitment. You have to stick to the basics as much as possible. And there are 4 hits which we always kind of, I always kind of believe in. One is hustle, hard work, honesty, and humility. and this is how I'm building my company. So, sticking to basics of these four, making me to kind of further run, and we have very big ambitions.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Where do you see Recibo in the next 5 years?
See, for any bootstrap company, now this is very, very important. We are a bootstrap company, and for any bootstrap company, after 5 years, it is like, you're starting from zero. So in fact, we are a profitable company, and we are reinventing every year. So our next plan is to kind of introduce a AI sales assistant, which is going to be best of the class. A sales assistant which will help any manager or a sales executive to think and do certain things in terms of visibility or achieving his targets and all of it. Yeah. So next 5 years, in fact, our plan is to I would not say we want to kind of kill competitions and all of it, but we always kind of look up to Zoho as a influencer. And our plan is to reach to the stage of what Zoho is right now. And I'm a strong follower of Mr. Sridhar Vembu, who also built a bootstrapped company in 20 odd years, and currently how big the company is.
Yeah. And how simple the man is.
Yes, he's a very, very simple man. He has built this company with a lot of humility, hard work and all of it. It's a great company, and I strongly follow Sridhar Vembu.
Yeah. So how is the work-life balance now?
I would say when you love your job, when you enjoy your job, you tend to kind of find out time to work more. But then again, it's also about balancing with my family. So yes, I spend time with my kids. So last 2 years, since it was more of COVID and it was more of work from home, I got more time to kind of spend with my family. So yes, so my wife and my kids also understand that I have a larger responsibility of running this company. So they know my our limits and all of it. So I start my day at 6 a.m. and I start immediately jumping on to the emails before even I go for a walk and all of it. Just look at if there's any pending emails and close it, and then I go further on the regular. So this has been a habit. What happens when you get up? So when during my initial graduation, or my father always taught me to kind of wake up early and complete your tasks early. So those days I used to just read those important things in my schooling days, and now I'm just clearing some emails, any pending emails which is there, and then I start my other work. So that is how it is. But see, balancing work and family is something which requires a lot of learning yourself. In fact, I am still learning after getting into entrepreneurship. Earlier in corporate life, it was more of a 9 to 6. I used to go to office. I used to work hard, then coming back to home, it was more of spending time with family. But now it is a full-time job for me. It is 24/7 job for me. So I still take out time, but still I'm learning to kind of achieve my best in this.
Good. So what role did your family play in Recibo?
Okay, I would say this was a great role, and without my family, I don't think I would have achieved something of this sort till now. So starting with my brother, in fact, my brother also financially supported. He's currently working in Iceland. He works for a company called Alvotech, which is into biotechnology. Okay. Yeah. So he's 6 years younger to me, but he is someone who is very, very close to me. My father and mother, they are just like, you do whatever, but make sure that you're comfortable and you're not getting into issues types. So they also supported me, but my father and mother still don't know what exactly I do. So they still they feel that yes, he is doing some business, but he always says about software, but they didn't even try to kind of get into that. They just say do something which is good for you and your family. Now coming to my wife, wife played a major role, in fact. what happens is when you have financial constraints and you have to live your life with a limited resource, that is where a homemaker plays a very major role in limiting certain things, making sure that kids are getting the best out of what resources we have and all of it. So this was our initial stages of life. But then, yes, now we are good enough, and we are just looking at building from here. So that way, my wife Manasa supported me a lot. In fact, she is one of the directors of the company right now.
Manasa.
Yeah, so yeah, she is
Oh.
one of the director, and she supported me both emotionally, which is very much very much required at that particular time. Yes.
That's wonderful to note.
Yeah.
So any new ideas, new ventures in pipeline?
Well, yes. See, as I started off saying, after 1.5 years, if I feel that I'm not learning more, then my this thing, I get into a different mindset. So for me, it is exploring what or new things which is happening. Exploring myself, reinventing myself, and all of it. Already, I have one more company called Phygital Solution, which is into phygital space. Phygital is a very hot word, which is about amalgamation between this phygital and digital. So there are certain ideas.
Can you just explain about this phygital thing? I'm
Yeah,
sure
so
me and my viewers will understand much better if you can explain it.
yes. See, there is a major transformation which is happening in this retail industry.
Okay.
Especially in countries like India and other emerging countries. See, you might have seen a decade of modern retail, then the e-commerce space, and the Indian distribution, the general trade, distribution industry as well. The good part in India, everything is growing in a steady stage, even after all this new trade which is kind of introduced in India. So now there is a transformation after this COVID era and all of it, wherein it is not just about having a retail which is just next to your house. How you can connect to the digital world of it. So phygital is a term coined from physical, which is your brick and mortar store, and digital is your online, how you can get online, right? So now in this phygital space, there are multiple things, how you can connect with your shopper, make him to come to your store and purchase your products. Even without he coming in, how you can reach out to them, right? Certain hyper local concepts. Then there are certain, tracking your traffic and all of it, footfalls and all of it. Plus also how you can get into D2C mode. So now you might have heard of D2C, direct to consumer. There are a lot of brands like MyGlam, Boat have kind of gone into the next level of distribution. They have built a brand which is more direct to the customer, right? So now see, in this phygital plus D2C, how you can kind of mix both of them and make sure that the consumer is getting the best out of that product. So this is about it. So this is 1 year ahead. Next 1 year I'll be focusing on Recibo only, but then slowly we are also doing a lot of R&D, which will be more towards this phygital space. Yes.
How different is this phygital from the omni channel that we're talking today?
Well, see, phygital is about connecting your retail to your consumer.
Okay.
Omni-channel sales and distribution is about your brand, who is automating using a Salesforce automation, distribution management, and B2B e-commerce. So Recibo omni-channel is way of connecting your brand to the retail. Phygital is all about how a retail can kind of utilize certain artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all of it, and connect with your shoppers.
Okay.
Or to your consumers, right? So this is about the phygital thing. Not only it is not only related to kind of connecting with them, how also you can drive traffic to your stores, right? So all these, all these things are completely interlinked. So Recibo will further focus on strengthening its presence in omni-channel part, sales and distribution part, and this is something which will be add on as a separate entity.
Great. Because there are a lot of new things that I have also learned today. For an example, the last one, Phygital. I'm sure that's going to help me and all the viewers also who are going to see this video.
Yes.
Finally, any personal hobbies, and do they still remain hobbies even now?
Well, I would say my only hobby is now currently do what best for Recibo as a company. So I'm learning technology. In fact, that has become my hobby. So now, see, I'm at non-techie. As I started, introducing myself, my education background. I'm just a graduate with physics, chemistry, and maths, with zero inclination towards software. Now my hobby is now understanding more on this technology solutions. There are a lot of new tools which has been introduced, and how it can kind of help. Yes, our entire tech team is working very strongly on this, but what happens is you also have to kind of increase your language of it. So every week I take up certain solutions, certain tools, and understand more about it, how this can help on our product. So this is how I could learn so much about technology. Otherwise, it takes a lot. I always sometimes think about, what if I can also kind of look at small coding, if not for my something putting into this organization, but for as a hobby. So this is something I was looking at, but again, it takes a lot. I can't start coding now and doing something, but yes, this is something I want to kind of further continue.
So what started as your professional hobby remained as a personal hobby as well, and I'm sure that is still remains your hobby even now. Good to
Yes,
hear.
yes.
Good. So Dharnish, the next 5 minutes is all about a rapid fire, a one-line answer.
Sure.
So one great professional achievement from your work days that still gives you high.
Me achieving the Performance Plus award in Philips. In fact, I was the only in the consumer durable industry, division of Philips, getting this award. So, which makes me very special, and still I have all those awards trophy and all kept. So yes, it connects me a lot, and I feel high about it.
One great personal moment from the corporate days that still recounts.
When I cleared my Hindustan Unilever interview, so as I was mentioning, there were around 15 people, and in this entire lot, I was the only person who got selected. And all this because of the entire knowledge I acquired about FMCG, working with multiple distributors and all of it. And before attending this interview of Hindustan Unilever, there were multiple things which I did. So that is one. I would, if you give me a chance, I would also kind of tell you the others as well.
Please.
See, in my entire career, it was always about working with best of the brands. I used to strive to kind of, I used to kind of mark, this is the next brand I should work, and I used to kind of go and work with them. But now, in my entrepreneurship journey, it happens that I discuss with best of the brands, and I onboard them. Each and every brand I onboard. It can be, I started with companies like Reynolds, Ferrero, Cello, and all of it. Each and every brand gives that particular high to me. Yes, I'm doing something to kind of automate these brands, and this is not just about a CRM solution. We become the backbone of the company in terms of helping them on sales and distribution, right? So this is about it.
Great. Any great friendships, associations from the corporate experience?
Yes, I am friend with some of the individuals. Starting with Mr. Karthik Murthy. We still kind of are connected, and we talk about certain interests and all of it. Mr. Karthik Murthy. Then in my initial Glaxo days, we had a couple of colleagues. I am connected with. Yeah. So yes, Philips days. A lot of we had a great kind of journey in Philips as a team. A lot of people in Philips. Same with Samsung as well. Yeah.
Good. A great moment from your entrepreneurship days that you are still proud of.
Our first customer, when we signed up with the first customer, yeah, it makes us feel proud about it. And yes, as I was telling you, the first crore we achieved with Recibo, and we touched kind of break even. Those were the days which are memorable still, because it's all about, you started somewhere and you achieved 1 crore business, which was just the beginning point. But yes, those days, these were a few years back, but that is a great achievement when you kind of start something of your own, bootstrapped with zero income, revenues, and all of it, and you reach that particular point. Now our next journey is how I can get to 100 crore.
Wonderful. So now that we have seen your initial part of success, the next question is the last question here. Recent victories for Dharnesh as a businessman.
It's all been as a...
Or I would just rephrase this, okay? Recent victories for Dharnesh, the businessman.
Okay. So as I was mentioning, see, I would not say victories, but then, see, to be frank enough, I am not very towards going and addressing certain forums, getting awards and all of it, because we are staying little low at current stage till we reach certain stage. But I would say each and every company we onboard is a victory for us. Right? I will not name any of them, but every month, I onboard a company, and I feel that yes, I won in this particular space. But to be transparent enough, we are not kind of looking at any, approaching any award functions and all of it, to be frank enough. Okay. So for next, at least some time, we are staying low on all this. And then we will look at all this. Yeah.
Super. Dharnesh, your suggestions to people who are aspiring to become a businessman?
See, staying grounded, humble, with humility takes you a very long way. Always stick to the basics. Basics is the foundation which will help to build your career in the corporate life or in the entrepreneurship. Unless your basics are strong, you can't get it, get to a stage. So it's all about how you fine-tune your skills. So this is my advice to the younger generation. So they need to fine-tune their skills so that they are very strong in basics, set a foundation, and then from there you can always reach to the, achieve your dream, whether it is in a corporate life or entrepreneurship.
Great. So thank you, Dharnesh. Thank you so much for joining on the show. It was nice to have you here. So my best wishes to you, Manasa, and your entire Recibo team for all the success in your life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rishi. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and keep going. This is a great initiative.
Thank you so much. So here is the summary of what we have seen in this episode today. Finally, it boils down to 2 words: passion and purpose. Because you can be passionate on many things, but purpose defines what you're passionate towards and how do you achieve that in your life. My best wishes to Dharnesh and entire Recibo team for their future endeavors. So thank you so much, viewers, for joining on the show. In case you have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe and press the bell icon for future notifications. Until then, see you.